Good afternoon and welcome to your news on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Shehan Ranatunga. Now first up, let's take a look at your headlines.
Trade unions oppose privatization of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. Workers begin protests. IOC chairman meets president. Strikes will continue, warns professionals trade union collective.
වැඩවර්ජන දක්වා ඒ ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ඉදිරියට ගමන් කිරීම සඳහා කිසිසේත්ම පැකිලෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන බරපතල අනතුරු වගේ මේ මොහොතේ කරන්න ලෑස්ති.
Tens of thousands of protesters rally against Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu. South Africa complete highest successful run rate in T20 history at Centurion.
Now on to your top stories. The Professionals Trade Union Collective says they will intensify trade union action against the government's new tax policy this week. They say the decision has been reached as the discussion scheduled to be held with the President regarding the tax policy has yet to take place. The Government Medical Officers Association representing the Professionals Trade Union Collective urged the government not to undermine the dedication of the professionals.
අවසානයේදී ජනාධිපති ලේකම්වරයා සමග පැවති සාකච්ඡාවේදී එකඟ වෙච්ච කාරණේ තමයි අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
When we met the President's secretary on the previous occasion, an agreement was reached to bring forward interim solutions to be discussed with the IMF during the next round of talks. These were based on suggestions made by us. We got a positive response from him in that regard. After discussing what the interim solutions were going to be and how it would affect professionals, we were promised a discussion with the President to reach a final agreement. However, we have still not been given the opportunity to have this discussion. Do not ridicule the patience and the sacrifices of professionals. We will not hesitate to launch stronger trade union action or strikes.
ගිහිල්ලා වැඩවර්ජන දක්වා ඒ ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ඉදිරියට ගමන් කිරීම සඳහා කිසිසේත්ම පැකිලෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන බරපතල අනතුරු වගේ මේ මොහොතේ කරන්න ලෑස්ති.
The strike launched by the Federation of University Teachers Associations continues for the 19th day. The chairman of the Federation of University Teachers Associations, Professor Shyam Bannaheka, said that the strike will not be called off until a fair solution to the unjust tax policy is given.
The President's office had made us a promise that there would be a discussion with the President. However, this did not happen. Following a meeting of the Professionals Trade Union Collective, we decided that if there was no response by Monday or Tuesday, we would continue the strikes.
Now, politicians made remarks regarding the Sri Lanka receiving IMF Extended Fund facility.
Our country's economy has been brought to the lowest state ever by our past rulers. We have to now pave the future with this IMF loan. Most people misunderstand this. The loan amount from the IMF is not what is important. It is the certification we received from it that is more important. We were known by the world as a bankrupt nation, and that is now gone. This is the first sign of relief we received from this loan. Following this, international organizations will turn to Sri Lanka and provide aid.
ලෝකේ ජාත්‍යන්තර සංවිධාන ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් ආධාර උපකාර දෙනවා.
අපි ඒක ණයක් හැටියට සලකන්නේ මේ මොහොතේ අපට හම්බෙච්ච මහා ධන නිදානයක්.
We do not consider this as a loan. We consider this as a treasure trove. We are not deciding on things to do with this. But if someone truly understands the true nature of the IMF, they would not light firecrackers on the streets, but would light them up on their face. It is that dangerous. The crisis begins from here. No country has ever come back up using the IMF policies. Tell us, what is the country that had economic crises, high inflation and an inability to pay back debt that was accumulated that actually recovered with the help of the IMF? This set of policies is the most cruel that the IMF has ever issued. $3 billion has now been added to the already existing debt of $52 billion. Now the debt total is $55 billion. This is what happened. Our debt did not change. If we do not do this properly, we would fall into grave danger. We would like to say that the people should not be burdened through unfair policies. Instead, decisions must be taken to come out of this crisis via the aid from the IMF. We are against inconveniencing the people. If the people are given more burden, we are totally against that. What happens when we sell profit-making institutions? We are losing our assets. We are against this. The government should act more responsibly. The debt burden has increased now, and there is an economic depression now. We must slowly act now without converting this scenario into a political script.
Now let's take a look at take a listen on the views expressed by the National Executive Committee member of the Jatika Jana Balawegaya, Ashoka Piris.
I received a call from a gentleman who works at the Asian Development Bank. He says that the IMF agreement says nothing about selling this. They are trying to sell these going beyond the IMF recommendations. They will not give up their power because as soon as they do so, they will end up in prison. There will definitely be court cases against them. Not just court cases, but the money that was stolen will definitely be taken back. It is a condition in the 157-page document sent by the IMF that bribery and corruption must be addressed and that stolen funds must be returned. Looking back at what they have done for this country, they deserve nothing less than prison.
Now, the Colombo High Court ordered for the appeal filed by the Attorney General against the release of the IUSF convener Vasantha Mudalige to be called up on the 3rd of April. The order was made after considering the said appeal today.
Vasantha Mudalige, who was remanded under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, was released by the Colombo Chief Magistrate, stating that there was insufficient evidence. The Attorney General has filed an appeal before the Colombo High Court, stating that the decision made by the Colombo Chief Magistrate to release him is against the law, while requesting that it be revised.
අපි දැක්ක ආණ්ඩුව අලුතින් ගැසට් කරලා තියෙනවා ත්‍රස්තවාදයේ වැළැක්වීමේ පනත වෙනස් කිරීමට
We saw that the government had recently gazetted the new bill related to the amendment of the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Now this has been done by increasing the power and changing the name. We asked that the Prevention of Terrorism Act should be repealed. We asked them to release the political prisoners. What has the government done? The salient feature of this is that they have inserted new clauses that can label anyone as a terrorist for protesting against terrorism or even defending professionals' rights. Going beyond that, the senior DIG has the power to seek detention orders in relation to an incident.
senior DIG ලට බලය තියෙනවා බලය දීලා තියෙනවා ඕන සිද්ධියකට අදාළව රැඳවුම් නියෝග ඉල්ලා සිටීමේ බලය අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමේ බලය.
Now in other news, Amnesty International Senior Director Deprose Mochina has arrived in Colombo for the regional launch of Amnesty's global annual report.
Deprose Mochina will be the key speaker at the regional launch of the annual report 2023 on the 28th of March in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Given the current economic crisis and human rights situation in Sri Lanka, he aims to use his presence to highlight and stress on the urgent need to protect and promote the rights of the island's 22 million people. Deprose Mochina is the Senior Director for Regional Human Rights Impact at Amnesty International, where he oversees Amnesty regional officers across the world to lead the mandate of expanding human rights footprint. He has previously worked with United States Agency for International Development and the Open Society Initiative for Southern Africa.
Now, petroleum trade unions have launched a satyagraha opposite the Colonnawa Petroleum Storage Terminal. It's against attempts to privatize the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation.
The Satyagraha began with the blessings of the Mahasangha. All petroleum trade unions were present.
For whose benefit are we once again trying to privatize the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation? The subject minister says that by creating competition within the market, the prices of fuel can be reduced. We would like to say that in 2003, LIOC was brought in the same fashion. It was said back then as well that the price of fuel would be reduced after a competition was created. It has been clearly seen that prices cannot be reduced by creating economic competition. If this is to be done, please tell us the proper method you would use this for. Similar to the past, the minister is attempting to usher us into an era where we will destroy what little we have left, only to be crushed by unbearable commissions that would affect the entire economy. In the past month, 9 billion rupees worth profits have been made. In January, 12 billion worth in profits have been made. These are massive profits. If Minister Kancana Wijesekara wants to give concessions to the people, he can do so by reducing the prices of fuel. But without doing so, the CPC, which was brought in as a profit-making institution, is going to be taken apart and given to private institutions. When other foreign institutions come into the market, we cannot stop them from abusing the people. There are many examples of this in this and other sectors where competition has not affected the prices of fuel.
This is a very shameful act. Without speaking in Parliament, come and speak to us, the trade unions. We can then explain ourselves to you as to why we say what we say. If you do not receive a solution, this satyagraha will continue into a much longer protest.
Now in other news, the chairman of the Indian Oil Corporation or IOC, Srilankanth Vaidya, called on the President Ranil Wickremesinghe over the weekend.
The chairman of IOC, Srilankanth Vaidya, met with President Wickremesinghe along with Sri Pankaj Jain, the secretary to the Indian Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas. He presented 500 IOC-produced indoor solar cooking systems to the government of Sri Lanka in the presence of Gopal Bagle, the Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka. The visiting IOC chairman also presented a unique jacket made of sustainable threads obtained by recycling PET bottles under Indian Oil's Unbottled initiative. In addition, he also took part in an event to inaugurate 3 filling stations of Lanka IOC in Colombo, and the opening of the new premises were done remotely. Manoj Gupta, the managing director of LIOC, tweeted that 34 more new LIOC filling stations are set to commence physical operations within March 2023, further strengthening the footprints of LIOC in the country. The chairman of IOC noted that it underlines the company's unwavering dedication to fortify Sri Lanka's energy security and also demonstrates the IOC commitment to becoming a dominant player in the global energy space. The chairman of IOC, Srilankanth Vaidya, also met with Sri Lankan cricket legend and World Cup winning captain Arjuna Ranatunga in Colombo.
The US Central Bank has raised interest rates over the weekend, despite fears that the move could add to financial turmoil after a string of bank failures.
The Federal Reserve increased its key rate by 0.25 percentage points, calling the banking system sound and resilient. But it also warned that fallout from the bank failures may hurt economic growth in the months ahead. The Fed has been raising borrowing costs in a bid to stabilize prices. But the sharp increase in interest rates since last year has led to strains in the banking system. 2 US banks, Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, collapsed this month, buckling in part due to problems caused by higher interest rates. Newsfirst spoke to managing member and portfolio manager of GCI Partners LLC, Niraj A. Gupta, regarding the matter.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has increased interest rates at its most rapid pace in 40 years. The U.S. Federal Reserve Central Bank policy, unfortunately, has huge consequences for the rest of the world. And I think there's a saying, when the U.S. catches a cold, the world gets a flu. I think a lot of the problems in the global financial system oftentimes originate from the excesses in the U.S. Financial system, because at the end of the day, the dollar is the reserve currency for the world, right? And by definition, the U.S. Central Bank is the central bank to the world.
Let's now take a look at the day's weather.
The Department of Meteorology predicts showers or thunder showers at several places in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Galle, Mathura, Kandy and Nuwara district during the afternoon or night. The department forecasts showers or thunder showers at a few places in the north central, Uva and northwestern provinces and in the Mannar district during the afternoon or night. The department urges the general public to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers.
Now, a heavy downpour has made it difficult for farmers in Thambalawava Polonnaruwa to reap their harvest.
A plethora of farmlands in Thambalawava Polonnaruwa have been destroyed due to torrential downpour experienced in the area in recent days. Farmers claim that though this is the period to reap the harvest of the Maha season, it has become a challenging task due to heavy rains. Farmers of the area added that they are also affected by the lack of a proper price for their harvest.
The Sinhala and Tamil New Year is coming up. We do not even have money to buy new clothes. We are facing many losses. Farmers have to beg now. There is no use in talking about this. There are many paddy shortages. Why are they not buying the paddy? The farmers of Thambalawava have been completely rendered helpless. In a backdrop where the prices of everything has increased, why can't you purchase the paddy from the farmers?
Now, Divi Savia, the social service project which gives strength to our own people, is being carried out today as well. Now, today's program is being held centering the Matala district.
Under this program, school children are being provided with exercise books and school equipment they need. Divi Savia has the support of the Ministry of Education and is sponsored by the LOLC Group. This morning, the program was carried out in the Kulavadia Primary School, which belongs to the Vilgamu Education Zone in the Matale district. All books and school equipment needed by the students were distributed by Divi Savia. Children of the Egoda Devagiriya Vidyalaya were also gifted books and stationery items by the LOLC Group this morning. The program was also carried out in the Vilgamu Vijay Primary School, Narangamu Primary School, Malgamala Primary School, Kahagala Primary School, Sulugune Primary School and Himbiliada Primary School of the Vilgamu Education Zone.
The authorities have arrested a drug trafficker who goes by the name Ami Sanath in Ahangama. The police said he is wanted for a series of crimes in the country.
Wanted criminal Ami Sanath was arrested for the possession of 15 grams of heroin following a special raid carried out by the police special task force. The STF said that Ami Sanath was operating the criminal and drug network of notorious underworld gangster Harakkata, who is currently in custody of the Sri Lankan authorities. According to investigations, Ami Sanath, at the behest of Harakkata, had delivered the weapons used to carry out shootings in the recent past in Sri Lanka. In addition, Ami Sanath, at the behest of Harakkata, had also wiped clean the said weapons after the crime was committed and handed them over to various other individuals.
Now, here are a few other stories from here at home in brief.
Two women were injured when a three-wheeler was knocked down by the Galukumari Express train in Thalpitiya, Baddua. Sri Lanka police said that the accident took place at around 8:45 a.m. at the unguarded railway crossing located along the Ratnayaka Road in Thalpitiya. The injured women were hospitalized for treatment. Wildlife officers managed to rescue a crocodile that had fallen into a well in the Yayatri area in Aralagangbila, Polonnaruwa. Newsfirst correspondent said the rescued crocodile was released to the Pimburattava reservoir.
Now in some news overseas, tens of thousands of people have taken to the streets in Israel following the dismissal of their defense minister, who spoke out against a controversial plan to overhaul the justice system.
Demonstrations have occurred across the country, with police and soldiers using water cannons against protesters near Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's residence in Jerusalem. After he was fired, Gallant took to Twitter to reaffirm, quote, "The state of Israel's security has always been and will always be my life's mission," unquote. Israel's opposition leader Yair Lapid described Gallant's sacking as a new law for the government. The proposed reforms would grant the government full control over the committee that appoints judges and make it harder for courts to remove an unfit leader, leading to concerns about the incumbent, who is currently facing corruption charges. The US has expressed deep concern about the situation and called for a compromise. The protests come after a week of planned disruptions over the new law, which has already caused unrest among reservists, including fighter pilots in an elite Israeli Air Force squadron who initially refused to attend training in protest. Netanyahu aims to push the legislation through parliament by the end of the week, citing public support for the reforms.
Now, two of the largest unions in Germany have initiated a strike, bringing the country's transportation network to a near standstill today.
Public transport employees at airports, ports, railways, buses and subways walked out after midnight for a 24-hour stoppage, demanding higher wages to cope with the rising cost of living across the country. This strike is the largest in decades, with multiple smaller walkouts by other public service sectors previously. Verdi and EVG are the two unions involved, with Verdi representing approximately 2.5 million public sector employees, including public transport and airport staff. Meanwhile, EVG represents about 230,000 employees at Deutsche Bahn, Germany's national rail operator, and other bus companies. The strike has already disrupted multiple flights at Munich airport, with the Airport Association estimating that around 380,000 air travelers will be affected. While some employer representatives criticize the union's demands, some have been successful in winning wage increases, such as postal workers who recently secured an 11.5% pay rise.
Now in cricket news, South Africa completed the highest successful chase in T20 cricket of 259 as they beat the West Indies by 6 wickets in a record-breaking run fest at Centurion.
Johnson Charles plundered a West Indies record 39-ball 100 in men's T20s, eclipsing Chris Gale's 47-ball effort against England during the 2016 T20 World Cup in India. Charles' 11 sixers and 10 fours, plus Kyle Myers' 51 off 27 balls and Romario Shepherd's unbeaten 41 off 18 powered West Indies to their highest score in T20 internationals. However, that proved an inferior total as De Kock and Reza Hendricks put on 152 inside 11 overs for the first wicket, before Eden Markram and Heinrich Klaasen smoked the Proteas to a stunning win. Quinton de Kock smashed a 15-ball 50 and a 43-ball 100 as South Africa topped West Indies 258 for 5 with 7 balls to spare, making 259 for 4 in 18.5 overs. The match is the highest scoring in the history of T20 cricket, with 517 runs amassed across the course of a remarkable encounter at Super Sport Park.
Oh, he's cranked that up and that's gone for 6.
And that's it from the news team for now. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Shehan Ranatulga. Thank you.
ඇත්ත කෙටියෙන්, දත්ත වැඩියෙන්, සයිබර් අවකාශයේ කලබන වුවත් සලකුණ. News First YouTube channel අදම subscribe කරන්න. News First ජනතාව සමග.
Newsfirst News Alert ඔබේ ජංගම දුරකථනයටත් ඔබ ඩයිලොග් පාරිභෝගිකයෙක් නම් English Alert සේවාව ලබා ගැනීමට NFU ලෙසත් Singlish Alert සේවාව ලබා ගැනීමට NUS ලෙසත් Tanglish Alert සේවාව ලබා ගැනීමට NAT ලෙසත් ටයිප් කර 678ට send කරන්න.
News First.